Have you ever looked at someone you really admire, someone who's just a genuinely good person, and wondered, why do they have it so tough? Well, today we're diving into a framework for understanding exactly that, and it's all based on Partha Majumdar's book, Good People Are Tested the Most.
I mean, it's a question that we've all probably asked ourselves, right? Is it just random luck? Is it unfair? Or is there maybe something deeper going on? We're going to explore this idea that maybe, just maybe, adversity isn't a punishment, but something else entirely. Let's get into it.
So, the book kicks things off with a pretty fundamental concept. Life is built on these dualities. Think about it for a second. How would we even know what true joy feels like if we'd never experienced sorrow? One gives meaning to the other. It's that contrast that makes life so rich.
And it's the exact same thing with success and failure. You know, setbacks aren't just the opposite of winning. A lot of the time, they're the actual road to winning. The things we learn when we fail, well, that's what builds the grit we need for the next big success. They're totally two sides of the same coin.
Okay, so here's where we get to the core idea of the book. What if we just reframed adversity completely? Instead of seeing it as just random, meaningless suffering, what if we started seeing it as a series of, well, tests? Purposeful tests designed to build us up.
And this is it, the central concept. The book calls them divine tests. The idea is that these tough situations are created to push us, to help us grow, and honestly, to reveal what we're really made of. That's a huge shift in perspective, right? You go from being a victim of your circumstances to being a participant in something much bigger.
And check out this quote from Ratan Tata. It's such a perfect analogy. The struggles, the challenges, they're literally the heartbeat of a life being lived. A life without any ups and downs would be, well, you know, a flat line. And that means you're not alive.
So, to really see this framework in action, let's look at our first story from ancient Indian texts. It's about a king, Raja Harishchandra, whose name basically became a synonym for truth itself. And believe me, he was tested in ways that are almost impossible to even imagine. Just look at this progression. It's not one test, it's a whole series that just keeps getting worse. First, he gives away his entire kingdom. Then, to pay a debt, he sells his own wife and son into slavery. Then he sells himself to a cremator. And the final test? Wow, it's just gut-wrenching. He was forced to demand a fee from his own wife to cremate their son's body. Every single one of these trials was designed to shatter his spirit and make him break his vow.
But here's the thing. He never broke. He never wavered. By holding on to his principles, his truth, even when facing unimaginable pain, he passed the ultimate test. And his triumph wasn't just about getting his kingdom back. It was about proving that his character, his virtue, was absolutely unbreakable.
Now, for our next example, we're going to jump over to Greek mythology. Let's talk about Hercules. Here's a guy with incredible strength, but his tests weren't about proving his virtue. Nope, they were about finding redemption for a terrible sin he'd committed.
He was given 12 tasks that were supposed to be impossible. And these weren't just about brute strength. I mean, sure, he was strong, but slaying the Nemean lion, that took creativity since no weapon could pierce its skin. Cleaning the stables, that took ingenuity. He had to divert 2 whole rivers. And capturing Cerberus, that required him to go to the underworld and back.
And this really gets to the whole theme of transformation. Through all these trials, Hercules wasn't just paying off a debt, he was purifying himself. He was becoming a better version of himself. And his reward wasn't just forgiveness, it was immortality, a literal seat among the gods. All right, for our last story, let's bring this whole idea right into the modern world with a real-life hero, Sardar Milkha Singh, who you might know as the Flying Sikh. He was an athlete whose story is just an incredible testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome pretty much anything.
I mean, his tests started when he was just a kid. He was orphaned during the brutal 1947 partition of India. He survived by living in a refugee camp, just fighting to get by every single day. And when he became an athlete, the hurdles just kept coming, training with almost nothing against the world's best, and then facing that ultimate professional heartbreak, missing an Olympic medal by a hair.
This number, it says it all. 45.73 seconds, a national record that stood for nearly 40 years. And yet, it was the time that put him in 4th place, just inches off the podium. Can you imagine the kind of strength it takes to deal with that moment? To come that close after everything he'd been through?
But here's the thing. His real triumph wasn't about the medals he did or didn't win. It was about what he became. For a brand new nation, Milkha Singh became this incredible symbol of hope and resilience.
He was living proof that even after the absolute worst kind of trauma, you could still rise up and fly.
So, okay, after hearing these incredible stories, the big question is, how do we apply this framework to our own lives, to our own challenges? Well, the book lays out a pretty clear, practical path for shifting our mindset.
Here are the 3 steps. First, try to accept that the situation you're in, no matter how hard, might actually have a purpose. Second, try to see the best in other people, or, as the book says, the divine in them. That helps you let go of blame and anger. And finally, and this one is huge, it comes straight from the Bhagavad Gita, focus only on your actions, on doing the right thing without getting obsessed with the results.
So we'll end on this thought. It's a question that kind of reframes everything we've talked about today. The next time you're facing a huge obstacle, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Maybe the better question is, what is this preparing me for? What if your greatest challenge is actually your greatest opportunity?